Lerato Honde. I'm an artist and an architect. I'm a designer. I've been creating art for as long as I can remember. I think I only just started calling myself an artist when I was like 16, when I realized that this is what I like to do and I like to share my work. But yeah, I'm an artist.
What sort of art do you create?
I'm a visual artist, so I do animation, I do paintings, I do drawings, I do I did do sculpting, but predominantly paintings.
All right. Would you say your art is feminist art?
So I think because I am a woman and because I am a Malawian woman, and a lot of my art really just is a reflection of my identity and my experiences, I would say my art is feminist art.
Okay. How do you capture feminism in your art?
So I think my art is empowering for myself at least. Um, what I do with my artwork is I really try to think about a concept beforehand for the most part. And so whenever I'm bringing in a subject, I want the subject to be empowered. So I bring in images and I tie in the images together in such a way that the subject is empowered.
Do you feel like a lot of times people's subjects aren't empowered in their art?
I think now that there's a lot of talk online about feminism and about Black lives, I'm seeing more artists becoming bold enough to share um, Black women in a way that they are empowered. But when I was learning about art and when I was in school learning about art, a lot of the references that I had did not feel empowering. And even just looking at classic oil paintings, I use oil paint predominantly. And the way oil paintings are portrayed in the past, or the oil paintings that I had seen, are mostly of old white men, or from a very like a medieval type of look. And I think that I like to use oil paintings just because of that. I like to use the same type of surrealist type of detail, but portray Black females in that sense to know that we can also be equally as empowering.
Hmm. So, for the most part, the art that I grew up seeing and still see centering women has been baby on back,
Yeah.
manual labor and all that. How have you managed to define women in a sense that gives them power, like you said, but then also maintains the fact that they're African women and there's all these aspects of their lives to them?
I think it's interesting you say that because something that I've been fighting with Malawian art is the baby on the back, the man with the firewood,
Mm.
and just the very basic conception of what Malawi is, what tourists want to see, essentially tourist art. And I think just in me basically portraying my identity, me not being afraid to share parts of myself in my art, I am breaking those stereotypes. So I, for one, have never been in a scenario where I'm in the village with a baby on my back. I see it all the time, but I've seen Black women who are in workspaces in the city, Black women who are, that's not the only narrative. And that's what I'm trying to show, basically.
Mm. How do you then, first of all, do you feel like the space has enough women who are visual artists?
The spaces in Malawi.
Yes, the space, yeah.
Okay, so I'm the co-founder of Wona Collective, and we have a podcast called Letters. So in Letters, we had a sub-series of creatives, and we had a musician, we had an actor, an actress, and we were looking for a female painter. So of course, I didn't want to feature myself, but to be honest, I could not think of a lot of female artists who are taking it seriously. Obviously, the female painters who do it part-time. But when I think of female artists who can actually call themselves artists, I think that's important for you to get to a stage where you feel like you can call yourself that. And I don't know what distinguishes an artist from someone who's just painting. But I feel like if you have the confidence to call yourself an artist and you are producing work as an artist, then it's different. So when we were looking for female artists, female painters, I found I found a couple in the older generation. So Miss Chika Badwa, Miss Eva, I'm mentioning her, she was my mentor when I was in school. So we actually ended up interviewing her. So I think the women that I've come across in this space who are taking art up seriously are predominantly the older generation, and they are engaging. They are engaging more in cultural art, so tribal art, with the sculptures, the masks, and cultural beliefs. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned Wona Collective. Maybe you could tell us a little more about the work you're doing with Wona.
So Wona Collective was founded in October last year by my partner Linafe Malonji and I, and basically we felt that there was a gap, and we wanted to use art to shed light on the lived experiences of Malawians, particularly marginalized groups and of women. So we felt that women need to tell their own stories, and marginalized groups as well, people with disabilities, people who are often overlooked by society need to be able to tell their own stories. So with each project, we use some kind of creative device. For example, with the Letters project, it's a podcast. So we're using sound. We're trying to go into animation, we're trying to go into film, but essentially we use different types of art to shed light on the lived experiences of Malawians.
Okay. Have you been able to engage other female artists in your work?
Yeah, so essentially that's what we want to do more of. Essentially, we want to collaborate with female artists and male artists, but we want to get female artists on board so that they can realize that they can actually share their work. There's a lot of female artists that we met in the process, and some of them don't share their work, and we just want to inspire them by allowing them to work with other female artists to be able to put their work out. So the first project that we had was the 16 Days of Poetry for 16 Days of Activism, which was in November last year. 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence. And we had 16 different poets. And every day we released a poem in the form of a video, the poem itself, and we had pictures of the poets as well. And in the process, we had a WhatsApp group, very casual, just to arrange the meetings. But it ended up being a space where we could share our thoughts, share our experiences, and I thought that was empowering. And so so we have had collaborations with female Malawian poets so far.
All right. What would you say is Malawian feminism, the way you see it?
All right. To me, female Malawian feminism is comes in different forms. For the most part, I think it's being confident in who you are as a woman and understanding that you are equally as capable as a man. I think that in the past, well, in some spaces now, patriarchy makes women feel like they cannot they cannot wear several hats in the workplace whilst raising a family, whilst embracing their femininity. And so I think for me, being a feminist and being Malawian means speaking out. I think that we've been silenced as women, Malawian women. So it means speaking out and being bold and courageous in whatever form that is. You might not be actively in the forefront, but that could come through even creating artwork.
All right. So often when we meet in feminist spaces, there's a lot of hurt and a lot of pain and all. all this sadness, what the things we've had to suffer through and survive. Could you, I wanted also to have a positive spin on it, just whatever words you can say that show that being a woman isn't all great clouds and sorrow. What is being a woman to you?
Okay. As an artist or just in general?
Both, I guess.
So for me, I think that being a woman has made my artwork stand out more. I think that embracing my femininity, embracing who I am, has allowed my work to be different. And besides me being an artist, I think for me, embracing my femininity just comes with accepting myself and accepting that I can be tender and I can be soft, but I can also be strong and I can be outspoken if I want to. And so it's really just about defining it for myself and allowing myself to evolve as a woman.
Great. What would you say to the younger you,
The younger
like
me.
10-year-old Lerato?
It's weird because I ask people these questions, but I never think about it. Okay, so the younger me. So when I was 10 years old, I had a lot of support from my peers with regards to really finding a talent, finding things that I am good at, and owning it. And I was in spaces where I stood out. I could say I wasn't really the ordinary. I was a black student in a class where there was predominantly white students. So I had a lot of confidence at the time. And I think what I would say to myself at 10 years old is just to really carry on with that. And that the courage that I have, I should never lose it. And the confidence that I have. And the person that I'm going to grow up to be is the person that I've always wanted to be. So, yeah, here's to you, Lerato.